In what will go down as quite easily one of the greatest games in Arsenal's history, Arsenal have defeated Leicester City 2-0 at the King Power Stadium with an absolute frivolous 2-0 win, in which we saw some fantastic goals from the likes of Pepe, Fuchs, and Nketiah, who is arguably now the Premier League's hottest striker. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Raw Reaction series show, which we react to the latest Arsenal news and matches and everything else that's regarding Arsenal. And Arsenal have come away after what was a horrific 2-0 win. Arguably the worst game I've ever seen. Maybe that's too harsh because we won the game, but I mean, there were some games that we've lost that I may have even enjoyed more than that. That was really painful. really painful. So I'm not quite sure how we're going to squeeze some analysis into this, but yeah, it was just one of those horrible games where it was stagnant, it's dull, scrap fest. Thomas Lear, you're spot on there, mate. That is exactly what it was. And it just wasn't enjoyable, was it, to watch? But got the job done, beat a side in Leicester that made 11 changes, but it's still Leicester. They've got some decent players. The likes of James Maddison played, etc. And we made 7 changes as well. There are some breakdowns of individual performances that we need to go through. Some positive, some not so positive. But it was really, it was a evening that was spoiled by something else, which I have to talk about. Now, if you're in the UK and you watched that game and you didn't use a dodgy stream, I chose to pay for the game, trying to avoid using streams if I can, because I've got all the packages now and most of the games are being shown at the moment and stuff like that. So I paid £10 of Carabao money to watch that game. And I have to say, how we can be charged £10 to watch our team because we can't get to the game is a joke. Like, there are no fans at the game. None whatsoever. And the only way that those fans can watch the game is through this feed if you're in the UK. And the fact that we're charged £10 to do that is disgusting. Like, think about how many fans there will be around the UK that will want to watch it, Leicester fans and Arsenal fans, and that we've had to pay 10 quid. That's a joke. That is just such an abuse of the situation that we're in right now. And that put me in a bad mood that I realised I had to fork out 10 quid to watch this game. It shouldn't cost fans anything to watch the team they love. We know that's not the case, but it shouldn't cost you a tenner. I mean, I'd say a fiver is, arguably still pushing it in some senses, but £5 would have been, I would have been absolutely fine with spending £5, as I'm sure a lot more people would have done. But to squeeze the fans £10 a go, like, yeah. So that put me in a bad mood before the game even started. But yeah, it was a really odd game. It was an odd game because obviously teams going into a game where there's lots of rotation, that we've got players that are in and out of form, players that have not played quite a bit, like Willock, like Nelson, etc. And then you had obviously the Leicester lineup, which was also completely rotated, every single one of them. And that is then going to lead into a game which it usually goes one of two ways. Either it's an absolute goal fest, because everyone's making mistakes, everyone's rusty, and you just see these weird chances go in, like the Pepe goal, but you see a lot more of them. Or you get what we got, which is just no one really can work out what they're doing. No one really can sort of play through each other because you're not in sync with your teammates, because you've not been playing with them week in, week out, and you're not used to that system, you're not used to that lineup, you're not used to things that you're seeing around you. And that then leads to just such a mediocre contest between the teams. That's kind of what we got. But let's go through the team. The first one, obviously, is Leno. Now, I actually predicted, I've still got it on here to show you, I actually predicted that Leno was going to start, and I got it right. And everyone thought it was going to be Runnison because obviously he signed the other day and he was training and all that. But I just had a feeling that Leno would be that goalkeeper that was picked, and he was. I don't think you need to rotate your keeper that often. I think that Arteta kind of realises the fact that I mean, why are you resting them? They're goalkeepers. You really only need. I mean, you look at the teams around the world that have got a goalkeeper that is way ahead of their number two, and they start most games. You're not looking like Manchester United. They've got Henderson and De Gea, but you've got teams like Real Madrid, for instance, that have got Courtois, and then the next two goalkeepers are youngsters. It's like the starting goal. Barcelona have got Ter Stegen, and then they've got Neto, and the difference between the two is just huge. And Arsenal now got this situation where we've got a goalkeeper in Leno, and so I thought that was what it was going to be. I thought Gabriel might start, he didn't. I thought Saliba might start, and he didn't. And I suppose this Saliba thing is kind of the biggest question of the evening, I suppose, is because Saliba didn't play. And I wrote an article for 101 about it, kind of talking through the reasons as to why. Now, Saliba hasn't really played too much. He played for the under-23s in a 2-2 draw against Brighton. He obviously played in pre-season. But prior to that, he's played no football since March. No competitive football whatsoever since March. So they are easing him in slowly. I was still surprised. I thought we might see Saliba play, to be honest. He was on the bench and he didn't come on. I saw when David Luiz went down what looked like a concussion, but must have not have been concussion because he carried on playing, that we might have seen Saliba come in. But no, it wasn't to be. Bellerin and Willian came off the bench. Again, a very strong bench as well. Like, Arteta seems to be taking this competition relatively seriously. He only made 7 changes, which is probably about the amount that I thought that they would. I thought they would start Leno, as I said. I thought the likes of Ainsley Maitland-Niles would come in. I thought that Holding could play, but I thought that Saliba would play ahead of him, but he didn't. Saka, I thought, would keep his place from the other game as well. Kolasinac, obviously, without Tierney in there, we didn't have much of a choice. And Kolasinac was actually okay. I thought we did all right. I thought he was better than he was against West Ham. So maybe that's a good sign, but I'm still not confident about him playing against Liverpool. So fingers crossed that Tierney is fit. But let's go through some comments in the chat box. Chris P, first of all, thank you for the donation. Yeah, he says, I thought given the changes, I was impressed by those that came in, did well and dominated the ball, won it back quick, just had that third, just that last third was a bit, yeah. I mean, Pepe struggled, didn't he? Pepe really did struggle. Again, he was all right on the ball. It's just that final bit when he gets to like the defenders where he can either take them on or he can play across, and he just kind of gets caught in two minds about what he wants to do. So I thought he struggled a bit. I mean, I'd like to know what your thoughts on Pepe were. Jonathan says, terrible game, sell Pepe. So there you go. There's your the Arsenal thoughts around Pepe. Mark says he was like Gervinho. Ilos points out that he didn't get any service. And O'Malley says that he's so left-footed and it's a weakness of his. And he dilly-dallies. I can't agree either. Says Tom, who was your man of the match? It's a good question because there wasn't too many amazing performances from the team. I thought El Neni, to be honest, had a really good game. I thought he controlled the midfield. We looked so poor without Xhaka in the team, usually. But actually, I thought El Neni kind of filled in really well and took that burden of what Xhaka gives us, just kept the ball ticking over, playing into the wide areas, and he just had a really solid game. And I don't blame Arteta for turning around and saying to El Neni that you're going to stay this season because we need you. You're good depth. Christopher Fung says Saka was probably my man of the match. Colin says Saka. Daniel Roberts says Fuchs was his man of the match. El Nenino says Yannick Mack. Iron Club says Joe had a good game. The ball he gave to Pepe in the first half was really, really, really good. Sorry, I'm getting a fan to come up me now. K-Man says Leno made a key save in the game. He definitely did. Chris P says, what was their keeper doing for Eddie's goal? I don't know. That keeper, I mean, he was stuck on his line the entire time, wasn't he? And he made a couple of really weird passes that nearly cost Leicester. You can see why he's their backup. And that kind of goes to show and kind of, in a way, justifies Leno and justifies Arteta's decision to play Leno in there, which is great because I think that when you look at what the decision in putting Leno in is just keeping that consistency up, keeping that game flowing. We're going to come up against teams in the Europa League that we can probably play runners in, or we're going to come up against an easier side in the FA Cup when we get drawn in that competition. It's most likely that we're going to be playing Liverpool in the next round because they've got Lincoln. They're probably not going to lose to Lincoln, and we're probably going to play them. And that will mean we play Liverpool 4 times in the space of what feels like nothing. Because we played them in the league at the end of the season, we played them in the Community Shield, we're playing them on Monday, and then we'll play Liverpool again when they beat Lincoln in the Cup. So it's a big test. I think you'll see, obviously, last time we played Liverpool in the League Cup, we saw a really odd game where we obviously lost. What was it, 5-4 or 4-3? Or it was I know we lost on penalties. Did we lose on penalties? I can't quite remember how we lost the game. I think we conceded like right at the end or something like that, or we did lose on pens. It was a ridiculous game. But yeah, we might see a game where Liverpool just go out and put all the kids out again because they're focused on other things like the Champions League and the league and whatever else. 5-5 it was, says Patrick. Yeah, it was a really, really odd game. Thank you, everyone, for throwing all the scorelines. You got better memories than me this evening. But yeah, I imagine that they'll put something in like that similar sort of really second string side. But they've got depth now. Like they've got Fabinho and Thiago who can play in deeper midfield positions. They've got Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain and Henderson and Wijnaldum. Like they've got enough depth that they can play multiple teams. They've got now Jota, they've got Origi still, they've got Shaqiri, they'll have Williams at right back, they'll have other centre backs playing other than like Van Dijk, they'll play Adrian at goalkeeper, they've still got a Shimikas at left back. They're going to have a decent B team now, Liverpool. It won't be the same B team filled with like Jones and all of them. Jones might play, to be fair, but it won't be the same one filled with all of the really, really young guys that they did last time. So yeah, you expect them to have a stronger side. I mean, they just bought a B team player for odd million quid, Jota. He's a good player, but he's B team for them because you're not going to get ahead of Mane. So yeah, whatever happens with the Liverpool game happens. I am kind of, the League Cup is always one of those sort of enigmas for Arsenal every season, is that we get in a couple of rounds, we come up against a bigger team, or we come up against a lower team and get shocked, or we just get knocked out by one of the big sides because they play a stronger team than us, or we just don't perform and don't turn up. And it's never really been a problem of not performing particularly well in the League Cup, but we've not won it for an insanely long time. It would be nice to win it. I do see the psychological impact of winning the League Cup. It's very early on in the season. You've got a lot of the season left to go when you do play that final, and it's a good psychological boost. And that's why Manchester City take it so seriously, because Pep Guardiola knows what a boost it can be towards the end of the season. But yeah, it's just up in the air for me. If you're going to ask me if I'd rather get top 4 or win the League Cup, like I'd rather we won top 4. That's such an Arsenal saying, isn't it? I'd rather we get top 4. I mean, the FA Cup, I think, is a different kettle of fish. The FA Cup is, for me, a prestigious major trophy. I'm not sure I look at the League Cup necessarily as like a major trophy. I rate it above the Community Shield, for instance, and it is a trophy. I just kind of struggle with it a bit, and I guess that probably comes down to the psychological and sociological surroundings of it on social media, how it's kind of been diminished in modern social media as well. And if you win it, it's great. If you lose it, it's the Mickey Mouse Cup, it doesn't matter. So it's kind of tarnished its reputation, I suppose. And the League Cup, like years back, used to be a prestigious thing to a lot of people. But yeah, it's just become something to beat teams with if they win it, or if you don't win it, it's a case of, well, we didn't win it. I mean, when we got to the final and we lost to Man City, not too many people batted an eyelid towards the end of the season. So yeah, but as Rydog says, trophies are trophies, so you're not going to complain if you win it. I just would rather we qualify for the Champions League over the League Cup, if you know what I mean. Anyway, the biggest thing and the most surprising thing, is it most surprising? I don't think it is, but the interesting thing, probably is the way to put it, is that Mesut Ozil and of course Guendouzi were not in the team again. And if they're ever going to be in the team, it was going to be for this game. I don't know what game we're going to ever, if they're here on the close of the transfer window on October 5th, I think it is. what like what are we going to do with them? Like, are they just going to sit and rot in the reserves, training constantly, never getting a look in, to the point where their value diminishes beyond anything, to the point where we'll have to pay someone? I mean, Ozil obviously would have his contract run down, but Guendouzi, like, he is a sellable asset. Like, he is someone that could bring in a chunk of money for the club, and just letting him rot in the reserves, playing no games at all, is that the right way to handle that situation? I don't know. Especially if he doesn't leave before the end. There was a supposed rumor that he'd handed in a transfer request. I'm not sure how legitimate that is. But it was, I just don't really understand. Gucci Prince says, surely Ozil offers more than what Joe Willock does. Surely. And I mean, I don't disagree with that. I think Ozil's a better player than Joe Willock. But the thing is that Arsenal want him gone. Arsenal are desperate to get rid of Mesut Ozil. If that is not obvious right now, I don't know what the club needs to do for it to be more what we to do to make it more obvious that the club want to get rid of this guy, that they don't want 350 grand a week going out of the coffers, that we could use it on transfers this season. And Colorado says Ozil just waiting to see where Kolasinac goes and he'll just follow him there. Kitchener says we're winning. I still question that finances are not our job to scrutinise. I get you, but this is what we're here for. We're here to talk about and look into the different intricacies of the game, and that is one of those things. RY says Matteo needs to apologise. Arteta can't go back on his demands. The thing is, he actually may have apologised internally, and we just haven't heard about it because we like to keep things in house, and maybe that means that we're not going to talk about Guendouzi coming out publicly and apologising. And maybe it has happened internally. I just don't know. Freddie says Ozil also has no place in this formation that Arteta is currently playing with. That is a very good point. Where do you play? If Ozil is not playing as one of those two centre midfielders, it would be playing on the wing. And we know that it just doesn't work, because to play on the wing in this Arteta system, you need to be disciplined, come back and defend. And that's obviously why he's gone with Willian, because Willian's energy, he does get back and defend. He does get back into position. That's why he's gone with Maitland-Niles, putting him out on the left wing against left mid. He gets back in defence. Everyone playing on a wide position has to get back. Even Aubameyang was getting back, and when he didn't, Tierney was screaming at him against Fulham. And Ozil's not going to do that. Like, you just can't see it happening. So Gucci Prince also points out that Ozil's contract must include a hefty bonus, and that's in terms of appearances. If there is appearance bonuses in Ozil's contract, we are going to do all we can to limit the amount of appearances Ozil makes in the team to try and stop that amount. If you are Mesut Ozil, you should be looking to leave, because you should be looking to try and earn the same amount of money that you're earning somewhere else. I get that you don't want to take a pay cut. Who would want to take a pay cut of £350,000 a week? You've been treated horrifically by a portion of the fan base. Constant abuse, constant just horrible abusive messages being sent your way. Why on earth would you? And you've been, I mean, in fairness, he has been shut out by the club as well. And in terms of being like he's been shut out by the club. So why on earth would he turn around and do Arsenal a favour? If you're thinking about this logically, why on earth would he turn around and go, yeah, you know what? I'll help you guys out. I'm going to leave for nothing and earn less somewhere else. He's not going to do that, is he? Like, if you're thinking level-headedly, he's not going to do it. So if you can sell him, sell him. But if he doesn't go, you can't turn around and say, oh, Ozil's so selfish, because he's not. Because he's been given this contract by the club. If you're going to be annoyed at anyone, be annoyed at the club for giving him that contract. And that's just how it goes at the end of the day. Jared says, Owen, he looked like someone whose 50-year-old uncle ran onto the pitch. What did Owen say? Bellerin shorts were high, really high. Yeah, he's a fashion icon, isn't he, Mr. Bellerin? Freddie McNay says he has kids and a wife recently settled in London. Oh, you have to consider that. I mean, if he could move to another London club, maybe he would. I doubt it. I just don't know. Chris P says, we've got Ozil. Mesut Ozil. I just don't think you understand. Can't make the League Cup, and he's clearly back it up. We've got Mesut Ozil. Fantastic. MYT says, are we going to ignore the fact that Bellerin is tucking his shirt in? I don't think we're going to ignore it. It's just, I mean, isn't it funny? Tierney does it. Praised. Bellerin does it. Everyone takes the nick out of him. It's just the way it goes, isn't it? It's just the way it goes. Someone has to be a scapegoat. And even when we have someone we love, like Kieran Tierney tucking his shirt in, when it comes to Bellerin, nah. See you later, fella. Don't care. Carl Helberg says it annoys me that after every game have the same tired conversation about Ozil, who hasn't come to terms with it yet. That needs to. I mean, who hasn't come to terms with it yet? I mean, you should be over this by now. You should know the situation. You should know what's going to happen and what's not going to happen. It's as simple as that for me. Right. As we wrap up the show, again, I did a video earlier on today. If you haven't checked it out, please do. A massive thank you to everyone that sent me the messages throughout the day. It's been so humbling, genuinely, to see the messages coming through, and I appreciate every single one of them. So massive thanks again. If you want to get access to these fantastic things, you want to become a member, make sure you click a link in the description. Members, if you could, just throw some of those emojis into the chat box to show people what they're missing out on. We've got the old Mainsley, up the Arsenal, Xhaka Boom, and trust the process so far. But the more people that sign up, we get access to use more of these things as well. So that's amazing. Thank you to my expert members. I need to update this screen because we've actually had more people sign up today to become members. And I really appreciate that, guys. I really, really do. So let me give a shout out to some of those people. And we've actually got a new level as well with the TGT Ambassador, which is basically just, if you fancy at the channel a little more, it's there. You don't get anything extra. It's just because things are going on in life, which I'd really appreciate any help that anyone can give at the moment. So thank you to Jared Carver, Aaron Letchford, Owen, Carl, Brian Robles. Thank you to Tomodo10, who signed up as an expert member today. Thank you, Gary Hardy and Alex McCarthy. You are legends. She also rejoined as a member as well. So thank you ever so much. And we also launched a Discord server as well, which is quite cool because I haven't used Discord ever. And we've got a Discord server. So if you want to join up as an expert member, you get access to Discord server. It's on the community tab. Make sure you go click on that and you can join the chat box. It's basically like a big WhatsApp group with all of the expert members in talking about Arsenal all day long. So you get a chat box all day long. So thank you ever so much, people, for tuning in. Really appreciate your time and checking out the video. I'd really appreciate if you could drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, and turn those notifications on so you never miss a show. I'll be back tomorrow with another show, probably a podcast or a news show, or possibly player ratings, but we don't usually do the player ratings for the League Cup games, just for the league games. So yeah, we'll see how things go. There'll be a show tomorrow, don't you worry. But other than that, it's been a pleasure, as it always is, speaking to you. And as always, up the Arsenal. Come on, you gunners, into the fourth round of the Carabao Cup.